Look, I'm not a thief. I'm just a sleep-deprived idiot who can't tell the difference between my bargain bin black roller suitcase and someone else's bargain bin black roller suitcase at 5:30 in the morning after a red-eye flight. An honest mistake that anyone could make, right? Well, try telling that to the people trying to kill me. It started at Denver International Airport. I'm Finn Cooper, 32, software developer, and the poster child for why you should double-check your luggage tags. I'd been in California for a tech conference. 3 days of pretending to be interested in blockchain while secretly playing phone games under the table. All I wanted was to get home, collapse into bed, and not think about innovative disruption paradigms for at least 48 hours. Final boarding call for flight 2187 to Boston. The gate agent announced as I sprinted through the terminal, laptop bag slapping against my hip. I'd fallen asleep at my connecting gate, because of course I had. I made it onto the plane by the skin of my teeth, sweaty and disheveled, earning that special look flight attendants reserve for passengers who make their jobs harder. For uncomfortable hours later, we landed in Boston, and I stumbled toward baggage claim in a zombie-like state. The carousel was already running when I arrived. I spotted a black roller suitcase making its way around, grabbed it, and headed for the exit without breaking stride. The handle felt slightly different, but I chalked it up to sleep deprivation. Just get home, Finn. Questions later. It wasn't until I was fumbling for my apartment keys that I noticed the luggage tag wasn't mine. Instead of my chicken scratch handwriting, there was a neatly printed label for D. Mercer with no phone number or address. Ah, crap, I muttered, setting the suitcase down in my hallway. I should have gone straight back to the airport, of course. That's what a responsible adult would do. Instead, I decided to open it and look for contact information so I could arrange an exchange without another airport trip. That's what a pragmatic, slightly lazy adult would do. Inside, I found men's clothing about my size. At least Mr. Mercer had taste, toiletries, and a manila envelope. No contact information. I hesitated before opening the envelope. It felt invasive, but how else would I return the bag? Inside was $50,000 in $100 bills, a thumb drive, and a handwritten note that said, "Final payment. Drive contains proof of deletion." That's when I should have called the police. But exhaustion and curiosity are a dangerous combination. What the hell did you delete, Mercer? I wondered aloud, plugging the drive into my laptop. Contained a single video file. I clicked play and immediately wished I hadn't. The footage showed a man in an expensive suit, silver-haired, distinguished-looking, accepting an envelope from another man whose face wasn't visible. Clear as day, the video captured the silver-haired man saying, "The senator will back your project once this goes through. Environmental regulations won't be a problem." Bribery. I was holding evidence of corruption involving a senator. Fantastic. I shut my laptop and paced around my apartment. Just take it back to the airport, Finn. This isn't your problem. My phone rang, making me jump. Unknown number. Hello? I answered cautiously. You have something that belongs to me, Mr. Cooper. The voice was smooth, cultured, and terrifying in its calmness. I think there's been a mistake, I started. No mistake. I see you've been exploring the contents of my bag. Not very ethical of you. I froze. How did he know? I glanced around my apartment, suddenly paranoid. Your laptop camera, Mr. Cooper. So easy to remotely access with the right tools. I slammed my laptop shut. Look, I just grabbed the wrong bag. I'll return everything, no questions asked. I'm afraid it's too late for that. You've seen things you shouldn't have. Don't worry, I'll be collecting my property in person. Soon. The line went dead. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the phone. Within 5 minutes, I had stuffed some clothes and my laptop into a backpack. I didn't know who this Mercer was, but he'd found my name and number in under 2 hours. My address wouldn't be far behind. As I reached for my door, someone knocked. 3 sharp raps that seemed to echo through my entire body. Mr. Cooper? Building management. We've had a report of a water leak in your unit. I'd lived here 3 years. We didn't have building management that made house calls. I peered through the peephole. A man in overalls stood outside, cap pulled low. Something about how he held himself too rigid, too alert, sent alarm bells ringing. I backed away from the door silently and headed for the fire escape out my bedroom window. As I climbed down the metal stairs, I heard my front door being kicked in. Running through the alley behind my building, one thought kept circling. I should have paid the extra $10 for the bright red suitcase. By nightfall, I was holed up in a cheap motel paid for with cash, trying to figure out my next move. I'd taken the suitcase and thumb drive with me. Leaving them behind seemed more dangerous than keeping them close. My phone pinged with a text from another unknown number. The man you're dealing with is Dominic Mercer. He doesn't forgive mistakes. I can help. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m. Copley Square by the fountain. Who is this new player? Friend or another enemy? As I debated what to do, my phone pinged again with a photo attachment. It was a picture of my parents' house in New Hampshire. The message beneath it read, "If you go to the police, they'll suffer first. 10 a.m. tomorrow. Come alone." I spent the night staring at the ceiling, listening for footsteps in the hallway, jumping at every sound. By morning, I knew I had no choice. I had to meet this mysterious contact. I arrived at Copley Square 30 minutes early, suitcase by my side, scanning faces in the crowd. At precisely 10 a.m., a woman sat down beside me on the bench. Mid-30s, sharp eyes, red hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. "Don't look at me directly," she said without turning her head. "My name is Vanessa Reid. I worked with Dominic Mercer until I realized what he was really doing." "And what's that, exactly?" I asked, eyes fixed forward. "Blackmailing his way up the corporate ladder and into politics." She paused. "That video you saw? The silver-haired man is Senator Howard Kent. Mercer's been collecting dirt on powerful people for years. Why are you helping me?" She finally turned to look at me. "Because I'm on that drive too. And because Mercer killed my partner when he tried to expose him." Before I could respond, I spotted a familiar face across the square. The fake maintenance man from my apartment. "We need to move," I whispered. "Now." Vanessa followed my gaze and stood. "Follow me. And whatever happens, don't lose that suitcase." As we merged into the crowd, I glanced back one more time. The maintenance man was on his phone, and now he was looking right at us. The hunt was on. Vanessa moved through the crowd with practiced ease, occasionally checking reflections in store windows to track our pursuers. I clutched the suitcase handle so hard my knuckles turned white. "In here," she said, pulling me into a department store. We weaved through clothing racks and perfume counters before exiting through a service door into an employee corridor. "Do you just know the back exits to every building in Boston?" I asked, struggling to keep up. "Only the useful ones. I've been preparing for this since Thomas died." Her voice caught slightly on the name. "My partner." Mercer made it look like suicide. We emerged onto a side street and ducked into a coffee shop. Vanessa chose a table with a view of both the entrance and the rear exit. "So what's the plan?" I asked. "I can't keep running forever. We need leverage," she said. "That thumb drive is valuable, but Mercer will have backups. We need to find something he doesn't know we have." She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. The silver-haired Senator Kent shaking hands with Dominic Mercer. Mercer was younger than I'd imagined. Maybe 40, with cold eyes and the kind of smile that never reached them. "That's the man who's trying to kill me? He looks like he could be modeling for corporate brochures." "The most dangerous predators often have excellent camouflage," Vanessa replied. "Look, there's more on that drive than you saw. Mercer's blackmailing at least 3 senators and a federal judge. But he's careful. He keeps the real evidence somewhere secure. And you know where that is? His penthouse apartment. Top floor of the Beacon Hill residences." I laughed. "Great. So we just waltz into one of the most exclusive buildings in Boston and search the home of a man who wants us dead. Easy." "Actually, yes." Vanessa pulled something from her bag, a security badge with Mercer's company logo. "Building maintenance contract is handled by Mercer's subsidiary company. I still have access." That's how 2 hours later, I found myself dressed in maintenance coveralls pushing a cleaning cart into the service elevator of a luxury high-rise. Vanessa had a similar disguise, plus a blonde wig for good measure. "Remember," she whispered as the elevator climbed, "we have 15 minutes before the real maintenance crew realizes something's wrong with their schedule." Mercer's apartment was everything you'd expect from a successful criminal, minimalist, expensive, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. We split up to search more efficiently. "Check the office," Vanessa directed. "Look for a safe or hidden compartment. The office was a pristine showcase of power, awards on the walls, expensive art, a desk that probably cost more than my car. I ran my hands along the underside of the desk, checked behind pictures, tapped on walls listening for hollow spaces. Nothing. 8 minutes left, Vanessa called from the other room. Frustrated, I stared at the room. What would a paranoid blackmailer do? Where would I hide? The bookshelf. One of the few things in the room that wasn't aggressively modern. I scanned the titles and noticed something odd, several classic novels, all by the same author but out of chronological order. I rearranged them by publication date, and a soft click rewarded my literary knowledge. A panel slid open, revealing a safe with a digital keypad. Vanessa. Found something. She hurried in. Can you crack it? I'm a software developer, not a cat burglar, I said. But, hold on. I pulled out my phone and brought up the photo of Mercer with Senator Kent, zooming in on Mercer's wristwatch. The date was visible, March 17, 22. Worth a try, I muttered, punching in 031722. The safe beeped and opened. You've got to be kidding me, Vanessa breathed. That actually worked? Narcissists love meaningful dates to themselves, I said, reaching into the safe. Inside was another thumb drive, labeled, insurance, and a small notebook. As Vanessa took photos of the notebook pages, I pocketed the drive. Time's up, she said. We need to go. We were halfway to the service elevator when the main elevator dinged. We froze as the doors opened to reveal Dominic Mercer himself, accompanied by two men with the unmistakable bulges of concealed weapons under their jackets. Mercer's eyes widened slightly in recognition. Well, this is unexpected. Run. Vanessa shoved me toward the stairwell as one of the men reached inside his jacket. We burst through the door and took the stairs 2 at a time, the sounds of pursuit close behind. 17 floors of pure panic. Give me the suitcase, Vanessa gasped as we reached the garage level. What? Why? Trust me. I handed it over as we ducked behind a concrete pillar. Footsteps echoed as our pursuers entered the garage. Split up, she whispered. Meet at the place we discussed earlier. We hadn't discussed any place, but I nodded anyway, understanding her meaning. This was for the benefit of anyone who might be listening. She squeezed my arm and slipped away with the suitcase, moving toward the exit. I counted to 10 before making my own way toward a different exit, trying to look casual despite my pounding heart. I'd nearly reached the door when a voice called out. Mr. Cooper. Stop right there. I turned slowly. Dominic Mercer stood 20 feet away, alone, holding a gun casually at his side. Your friend abandoned you, he said, walking closer. She has what she came for. You're just the patsy who took the fall. I don't know what you're talking about, I said, though doubt crept in. Had Vanessa played me? The money and the original drive. She has them now. And you, he raised the gun, are a loose end. A car horn blared as headlights suddenly flooded the garage. Mercer turned, momentarily blinded, as a sedan screeched to a halt between us. The passenger door flew open. Get in. Vanessa shouted from the driver's seat. I didn't need to be told twice. I dove into the car as Mercer fired, the bullet shattering the rear window as we accelerated up the exit ramp. I thought you'd abandon me, I gasped. Never, she said, swerving onto the street. But I needed him to think that. In the side mirror, I saw Mercer running toward a black SUV. They're following us? Good, Vanessa said with grim satisfaction. I was counting on it. She drove with terrifying precision through the Boston streets, finally pulling into what looked like an abandoned warehouse. Inside, to my surprise, were several police cars and officers in tactical gear. FBI, Vanessa clarified, seeing my confusion. I've been working with them for months. We needed hard evidence and to catch Mercer in the act. As if on cue, tires screeched outside as the black SUV pulled in after us. Right on time, Vanessa said. The ensuing arrest was anticlimactic compared to the chase. Mercer and his men surrounded, weapons confiscated, rights read. The look of shock on Mercer's face when he realized he'd been led into a trap was almost worth the trauma of the past 24 hours. Almost. Later, as I gave my statement to a patient FBI agent, I learned the full story. Vanessa had been an undercover operative for months, gathering evidence on Mercer's blackmail operation. My accidental bag swap had nearly blown her cover but ended up providing the opportunity they needed to catch Mercer red-handed. So what happens now? I asked after signing my statement. Senator Kent and several others will face corruption charges, the agent explained. As for you, Mr. Cooper, how do you feel about witness protection? I thought about my boring job, my cramped apartment, and the last 24 hours of terror and adrenaline. Do I get to pick my new name? I asked. The agent smiled. Within reason. 2 weeks later, I was settling into a new life in a new city with a new identity. Different job, different apartment, different color suitcase, bright red, impossible to mistake for anyone else's. The moral of this story? Always check your luggage tags. Or you might accidentally take home a suitcase full of blackmail material, get hunted by a corrupt businessman, become part of an FBI sting operation, and have to fake your own death. You know, normal airport problems.